You're listening to Union Strong NJS PBA Voices Podcast. The intro is brought to you by the New Jersey State PBA-owned Federal Credit Union, offering competitive rates and fast loan approval. Visit www.njspbafcu.org. Hello and welcome to episode 45 of Union Strong NJS PBA Voices Podcast. I'm your host, Vinny Rizzo, and today I'm talking to retired PBA member and current product specialist of VCS Software, Mike Babulski, about the second annual VCS Open at Eagle Oaks Country Club. A day that is much more than just a day on the golf course. It's becoming a tradition in the making that unites our law enforcement family and our supporters for a cause that truly matters. This outing brings together golfers, sponsors, and donors from all walks of life, all with one shared mission: to give back to the men and women of the New Jersey State PBA and their families. The proceeds from the VCS Open goes directly to the NJS PBA Survivor and Welfare Fund, a lifeline that provides critical support to the families of fallen officers and assistance to members facing serious hardships. This fund ensures that during the toughest times, no family stands alone. And that's why every tee shot, every sponsorship, and every dollar donated makes such a powerful difference. Whether you're hitting the greens, sponsoring a hole, or simply making a contribution, your support fuels the mission. It's not just about a great round of golf on a world-class course. It's about standing shoulder to shoulder with those who dedicate their lives to protecting others. So this year, we encourage you to take part in any way you can. Golf, sponsor, donate. However you choose to get involved, know that your impact goes far beyond Eagle Oaks. It reaches into the homes of families who need us most. Together, we make sure the legacy of service and sacrifice is never forgotten. We hope you enjoy the episode. So, Mike, can you start by telling our listeners what the VCS Open is and when it first began?
Well, the VCS Open is obviously VCS Software, our company. We have a long backbone and interaction with law enforcement through our 27 years of history. And for the past several years since I've worked there, our CEO, Guy DeMemo, has always brought up that he wanted to do something to support the state and the local PBAs who have given us so much over the past 27 years. So obviously we do a lot of golf outings for locals and county conferences and all kinds of organizations. So we thought it would be good if we did one under our own charity banner, which is how it began. Last year, 2024, was our inaugural.
Beautiful. And, you know, we say it on many podcasts. So we're approaching almost 50 episodes now. And if you've listened from episode 1 till now, we can't do anything, we as a PBA, without sponsors like VCS and, you know, the mom and pops that want to make a donation and stuff like that. It allows us to be more benevolent, and no one bigger than VCS. Like I said in the monologue, you're there. You've become almost synonymous with the New Jersey State PBA. And again, we're wishing you nothing but the best this second year of hopefully what will become an annual event that everyone looks forward to.
Watch out, Joe Rogan. Here comes the PBA.
Ruh-roh. So you mentioned Guy and VCS. Who were the main people and or organizations behind its creation?
Well, obviously the main person is Guy, our CEO, and the VCS organization itself. We staff it with our employees. We back it with our private sector clients as well as our law enforcement partners. So we pretty much run it, and we get a lot of support from the state PBA and their convention and golf committees.
Was there anything specific, an incident or a moment that inspired the creation of it, or was there a motivation behind starting the event in the first place?
Yes. So I don't even know how many years ago it was now, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we partnered with the state PBA for the first time. Since then, talking to Mike and Pete and Pat Colligan at the time, they expressed the problems that the Survivor Welfare Fund had after COVID, that it took a big hit. So we at VCS said, listen, who can we help and who's our biggest partner? It was the state PBA. So we thought that this was a way we could help build up that fund by supporting the Survivor Welfare Fund.
Yeah, so obviously sometimes I ask questions that people that are listening specifically are police officers. It's like, why'd you even ask that question? We know why that's happening, but this is more for our supporters and for, you know, the people that stumble across our podcast that don't really know about the Survivor and Welfare Fund and stuff like that. So obviously this outing benefits the families of police officers injured or killed in the line of duty. Can you talk about that and why that is so important?
Well, obviously, I don't know if people know my background, but I was a police officer for 25 years here in New Jersey. I retired as lieutenant from the Linden Police Department. I retired September of 2020 and then came into the private sector. But obviously, we were a busy department, had a lot going on. We had a lot of officers with critical incidents, not just shootings and things like that, but mental incidents, family incidents, all kinds of issues that the public does not know that police officers encounter on a daily basis. So the Survivor Welfare Fund, Cop Shot, is very important to me during the course of my career.
No, definitely. And you had mentioned that the fund was depleted, and that's why past President Colligan, current President Andreev, and Executive Vice President Freeman, you guys kind of put your brain powers together to come up with this event. What was the need for the influx? You had mentioned COVID, right? Do you know any of those numbers or anything like that?
The numbers specifically, I don't know what the numbers were prior or after, but I know that once the state declared all COVID deaths to be considered on-the-job deaths, which is definitely the right thing to do. Police officers respond to all things. I can tell you, us in Linden Police Department, we go to an ambulance call in March or April of 2020 for a broken leg or a bloody nose, and then you walk in the house and everybody's coughing and sick, and you didn't know that. Now that officer's out. And we had, at one point, 60 officers out in the city of Linden with COVID-related illnesses. Some never came back. Some are still suffering the consequences of that today.
No, definitely, for sure. So that was a nice little intro and broad overview. So I wanted to get into, the nuts and bolts of this actual episode, the VCS Open itself, the actual event details and the atmosphere. So let's start to paint a picture about September 22nd of this year, kind of touching on last year's event and what to look forward to this year. So for someone who's never attended, what can they expect on the day of the VCS Open?
It's a different kind of event. We've learned it because we've sponsored so many outings in the past. So last year, the inaugural, obviously we were learning quite a bit at the time. Us as a company never ran a golf outing before, so we relied heavily on the shoulders of the state PBA, who helped us immensely. And if you talk to them, I'm sure they weren't confident that we were going to pull it off and successfully pull it off as we did last year with the money we raised and the money we gave. But I think it's different in a lot of ways that we learned from other locals. One example is, first of all, it's a top-rate course, second to Trump's. I think if it isn't even second to Trump's, you cannot get on Eagle Oaks Golf Course in Farmingdale without being a member. They don't do a lot of outings at Eagle Oaks, especially private outings. They do some Wounded Warrior and Soldier outings, but not really the common place to have an outing, and we're very privileged to have it there. That being said, it makes it a little more expensive to have it at such a premier facility, but we believe it's worth it because it is a premier facility. We lead the golf carts out to the holes with police motors. We think that's important. We have police honor guards there. We have police flyovers. So it is really law enforcement centric at the VCS outing.
That's great, honestly. Being there for the inaugural last year, it really was a great day, and obviously full transparency. Sure, you're going to have some nerves about an inaugural event, but it really went off great, and we expect nothing but an even greater show this year, for sure. So you touched on Eagle Oaks. What was the reason why Eagle Oaks Golf and Country Club was chosen? Can you tell us a little bit more about the golf course?
Our owner is actually a member there. He has a long partnership with Eagle Oaks, as well as there's a lot of other of our partners and customers that belong there. So he considers it home base. We do a lot of our business there. We have a lot of our meetings there. So it really is a home base for VCS software is Eagle Oaks.
Very nice. So besides golf, what other activities or highlights are part of this day?
Oh, you name it. We have all the typical things and some little different ones there at Eagle Oaks that you have. We have putting competitions, long drive, closest to the pin, all those kinds of things. We're going to have people wandering around and handouts and giveaways during the whole course of the event. We're going to have a female beat the pro on a hole this year, which is new from last year. I believe we had a male beat the pro, but we're going to do a female this year for
Cool.
Beat the Pro. We got some feedback that we need a little more food because I guess people just don't eat enough breakfast and dinner. So we're throwing a lunch in there. So we're going to have one of those fancy hot dog vendors there that's going to be stationed midway. So at the turn there, you'll be able to get all kinds of fancy hot dogs. That'll be different. And I think our giveaways are second to none. They rival, again, the Trump Survivor Welfare Golf Outing at the Trump National. And our giveaways after, the tricky trays, the 50-50s, the door prizes, those things are tremendous. What you get for the bang for the buck for the fee.
For sure. You definitely get what you pay for in an event like this. If you're going to be shelling out a couple extra bucks, you want to leave with things that you're going to use and not just toss in the bottom of a closet or in the back of your car and never look at again. And like you said, Mike, they are second to none. You are giving out top shelf prizes. And again, it's a very high end day and event in general. And as we know, sponsorship is a big part of making an event like this successful. What are some ways businesses or individuals can get involved as sponsors? Again, you guys give back so much. How can we contribute to you to help you guys be more benevolent moving forward and things like that?
Right. The biggest way is our website. If you go to vcssoftware.com, that's our main website. On there, there's a banner for the VCS Open. or you go to vcssoftware.com/VCS-Open, and there's all the sponsorship levels there. We are fortunate enough to not only have, in addition to our 700 law enforcement, fire, police partners across the country, coast to coast, we also have several private sector companies. Not to mention that our Jobs for Blue, managed extra duty, we also leverage our partners on that side. The utility companies, the construction companies, the paving companies, everybody that's hiring police officers, we try and leverage them to support the same police that they use every day on the job.
Very nice. So obviously our law enforcement community is big. So you just touched on the private sector. How has the private sector community support helped this event grow even bigger than it probably would be if it was just law enforcement?
I think the pendulum swings in law enforcement, right? Very supportive, and then it goes the other way, and then it comes back. I think it's a good time for law enforcement now. We're bouncing back after some controversies, and I think overall people realize that police are here to serve the public. And I think when the public gets the chance to help cops, they do. I think they see the news stories, the things that happen to police officers on a daily basis that maybe don't get the publicity, that the local residents, the local businesses, the small grassroots people, that the plumbing companies, siding companies, roofing companies that come to support our outing, they just want to say thank you to the cops, or they just want to play a round of golf with a couple cops. So we'll do that. You want to take a twosome and come play with a couple guys? We'll hook you up with a couple guys that'll do it. Or you want to sponsor a foursome and invite some guys from the local, reach out to us. We could definitely team you up and get hopefully a long-standing relationship where now you know a cop that you can give a call, that you need a favor or advice or something like that.
I think that's a great point, about the pendulum swinging. For a long time, it feels like, we were under attack and, things weren't really going our way. And believe me, there's still that happening to this day. But like the pendulum does seem to be swinging in the positive for us. But I really do think events like this and local events and county conference events and things like that, you really do realize, again, this private sector, the roofing company, the painter, the plumber, there really are more people that support us than don't. It's unfortunately just the vocal minority and the news clickbait type stuff that we hear about. But I think if you get one thing out of this is that we really are supported and people really do care about us and want to see us do well and help us in our causes. I think that's probably a good thing to say, right, Mike?
Yeah, no, 100%. Your local roofer is not going to be like the big company that's got the social media pages. They have access to the press, all the mainstream media things. They just like to support cops and they like to say thank you. They buy you a beer, they buy you a coffee, whatever it may be. But it doesn't get publicized the way it does with the negative incidents. So I think this is one way, and I know that our owner guy wants to say thank you. He loves law enforcement. We know it's the backbone of our company, even though we are in the private sector and a large factor there. But the loyalty to law enforcement that helped us build this up over these 27 years is definitely the backbone of our company.
No, for sure. So you mentioned the word publicized. If you want to talk in terms of publicizing somebody, have there been any standout moments or sponsors who have really gone above and beyond?
The moments I probably wouldn't talk about here. There's some crazy things I've seen on that golf course that we've all seen on some golf courses somewhere. It's probably something we shouldn't talk about.
All right, good point.
It's almost like fishing. The fish is a lot bigger when you're talking about it. I'm sure when you see the scorecards at the end of the VCS outing, people are going to be 20 and 30 below par.
They're already filled out, correct?
Yeah, the cards are done. But even though the balls are in the woods, but the cards are done at this point.
Yeah, we're a month out from the event, and those scorecards were already signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, the sponsors are pretty good at that. I don't see that too. Well, you do see it with the locals, but the sponsors are pretty good at stacking their foursome with some guys they think are going to come in and take the big prize for the under par there, 25 under.
Yeah, definitely. A few eagles, a bunch of birdies, maybe a hole in one.
Yeah.
Before we get back to the conversation, I want to take a moment to talk to you about the sponsor of this mid-roll, something that's here for you because it's ours. Blue Guardian Insurance is NJSPBA owned and designed with our members in mind. That means it's not just another insurance company. It's run by the people who understand our work, our families, and our needs. Whether it's protecting your home, your car, or your future, Blue Guardian has your back because it's built for us, by us. If you haven't already, check them out at www.pbainsure.com and see how they can help protect what matters most. Blue Guardian Insurance, our protection, our way. All right, so you kind of sidestepped that question. So I'm going to try again. Being a podcast host, you got to ask the tough questions. Do you have any PG-rated favorite memories from last year's event or a story that really captures the spirit of the VCS Open?
I think of one picture, and I think he's okay with me saying this because I thought it was really cool. Dan Oliveira from the State Police NCOs,
Yep.
who's a big supporter of the golf outing. We're a big supporter of them. They're a great customer of ours. And I had to tell him when I saw it, because you don't know that who's wandering around taking pictures and stuff of the outing, what's going on and when it's going on. Obviously, we're very careful what we put out there, but there's a great picture of him with a cigar in his mouth after he took a shot or sank a putt. I forgot what it was, a great drive or whatever it may be, but there was an awesome picture that I had to show to him when he saw it. And he wasn't even aware it's out there. It was all over our social media, and when he saw it, he just couldn't stop laughing how funny it looked.
Danny's a great guy, and it's actually kind of funny. And I always say, about how small the world is, and, you go to another state and you run into somebody from your hometown or a neighboring department. It's funny, on this podcast, Danny was one of our first non-PBA members on Union Strong. So we did a live from Tice's Shoal, which was one of our previous episodes, like 2 episodes ago. And I actually ran into Danny in the Bay, and we talked about kind of like the networking aspect and how he's a leader in his labor organization, and how, the PBA and the NCOs have had this long-standing relationship. So it's kind of funny. You mentioned Dan, and again, that small world, small vibe feeling, and it's kind of funny how his name came up again.
It is. It's a brotherhood, yet it's a friendly competition it always has been, between the locals, the counties, and the state police. When you need help, you go to one another. But when there's a little competition between the two, whether it be on the golf course or at Tice's Shoal shooting some T-shirts around, it gets pretty heated.
Well, I was going to ask you. I asked you previously about some of the things that make this outing different than others. Is the T-shirt cannon going to make its appearance at the Eagle Oaks Golf Course?
So that is a funny story. So our owner loves the T-shirt cannon.
I love it too.
It really is a cool thing.
It is.
So I'll share some stories if we have some time for it.
You do.
So the Tice's Shoal was the debut last year of the T-shirt cannon. So we used it, and it pretty much is anything we could jam down the barrel of it, we can shoot. So it started out as T-shirt cannon and a football cannon and a squeeze ball cannon, and hey, can we put 3 or 4 of these in there and shoot these off? So last year, we used the T-shirt cannon extensively. We floated it around in a tube up to all the different boats, and Pete and Mike and all of the PBA board. Everybody's shooting them all over the place, seeing how far they can get them, or shoot them to friends, whatever it may be. But then we forgot to clean it out after last year's debut in the salty Tice's Shoal Bay. So when we busted it out again for our customer conference in June that we have at Hard Rock, it was seized up. So the prior customer conference, it worked fine. We were shooting them off the roof at the Hard Rock, and they're landing all over the boardwalk. But this year it was a massive failure. So we actually had to go out and acquire a second, as well as call a couple of our firearms friends to fix our last year's one. Thank God we know a couple of cops that are smiths, armorers, whatever it may be for the firearms. So they fixed one of ours, and we acquired another. So now we have 2 VCS cannons that we will be deploying at the outing.
Very cool. Yeah, that is a lot of fun. I have like a huge smile on my face. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like the nostalgia of being at a sporting event and, at halftime or whatever, the cheerleaders come out and start shooting them, or at the 7th inning stretch. It's just funny. I mean, recently, 2 weeks ago, we're standing in the bay and you hear that CO2 powered pop, and you're looking up to see where it's flying, and that thing flies. No joke. 100 yards. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, you can actually adjust the pressure. It takes a lot of practice, and depending on how much pressure you put in there and how much you're shooting, it'll go a couple 100 yards or it'll go 50 feet, depending on what you want to do.
Very cool.
It's addicting. Very addicting.
Yeah. I like that little side story that's sort of golf outing related. But getting back to the golf outing a little bit, have you seen any relationships or partnerships form because of the outing?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We have some private sector clients that we partnered with at our outing, and that have come to several other of our events since then. They sponsor our customer conference that we have. They come see us at the Police Security Expo in Atlantic City. Off the top of my head, I wouldn't want to mention any, because then I would think I would leave somebody out, and I might get into some trouble here. But we definitely have some partnerships, not only that we use, but that also help us on our software. Some police training companies, they help us on our back end to help us provide what law enforcement needs to build into our software to make the job easier for law enforcement. As well as anybody, like we partner with the state PBA. Without the sponsors, you're spinning your wheels.
Yeah, for sure. So this is the 2nd annual VCS Open. What are your long-term hopes for this outing moving forward?
Obviously bigger and better every year. As you know, I'm sure everybody in the PBA knows, it's hard to schedule these things, right? There's so many events, there's so many locals, there's so many private political events, everything that everybody tries to get scheduled. We're a little tight this year because we have 2 outings for the state PBA within a week of each other. So it's hard to plan, but then you got the conferences, you got the conventions, you got everything else that you don't want to conflict with. So we try not to conflict with anybody, but we also understand that, like we said, the locals, the county conferences that want to sponsor and maybe can't because you're going to that well a little too often. Even though we do, we want you. Come sponsor, come play with us. We'd really love to have you.
Hey, it's a good problem to have, trying to decide if you're going to golf at Eagle Oaks and then Trump Edminster and or both within 2 weeks. It's a good problem to have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a nice place to play.
So this has been fun. Kind of a quick hit segment about the VCS Open. Hopefully we're going to drive up attendance and participation and sponsorships, that sort of thing, being 1 month out. But we're getting to a point we're going to kind of conclude a little bit. So just very simply, again, 1 month out, how can people sign up to golf, sponsor, or just come out to support the cause? You want to touch on that a little bit? We'll make sure everything's in the show notes and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you everything. I'll give you the flyers. Those of you that have my contact information, I go to hundreds of police departments every year. Again, we have in excess of 300 police departments. 20,000 of the 30,000 PBA members in the state of New Jersey use POS and or Jobs for Blue every day. So you can reach out. You can reach out to VCS. I'll give you the phone number too, which is 732-730-9009. You could ask for me, Mike Babolski, or you could just call and just tell them, hey, you want to get involved in the VCS Open? Go to the webpage, like I said. Text any of us. Call our Jobs for Blue office. Anywhere you can get a hold of VCS, get a hold of us. If you see me somewhere, we will be at the September 9th meeting. I'll bring that up for the state PBA. We'll have a QR code and some things there. We'll speak a little bit about our PBA and VCS partnership again. But definitely get a hold of me or the website.
All right, perfect. Yeah, like I said, this will be in our advertising and our show notes, easy clickable links, that sort of stuff. So it will all be there for you, for our listeners. But again, before I ask the final question, VCS is synonymous with the PBA. They support us, so please support them. So, Mike, if someone is on the fence, they can't make a decision, they can't pull that proverbial trigger. If they're on the fence about participating, what would you want to say to them? And, just wrap it up with some of your final thoughts as well.
So I would say, first of all, it's a survivor welfare, right? So me as a prior law enforcement, I guess you're always law enforcement, so you're always loyal. This is not going to the locals for a barbecue, for a picnic, whatever it may be. There's nothing wrong with those things whatsoever, but that's what your locals are for, to support the community you're in. This is to support law enforcement, whether it be cop shot, survivor welfare, maybe an officer that has to retire, or maybe an officer get killed in a line of duty or severely injured in a line of duty. So 100% the cause is worth it. Secondly, like we said, you're not going to get on this course. You can't get on it. Our company belongs there, and I don't even get on it that often. So if you're going to hack around balls on a golf course, you might as well come to a good one to do it. Not to mention the meal, the breakfasts. Like I said, the prizes, the giveaways are second to none. Top-notch giveaways. Like Vinny said, you're not just going to get a towel or a coin or something that you're going to throw in your bag and never use again. You're going to get some top-notch swag to give away. And you get to meet with the best and the brightest. I mean, it's really a nice socialization thing. I was telling Vinny before that guy has supported my local and PDs of our customers over 20 years for me. So he is loyal to police, and he does support all of it. And this is the time to come support him, to do a little something for you guys. And I don't know if I mentioned that last year we did raise $31,000 for the state PBA that we presented at the mini.
Yep.
But then Guy matched that. He gave another $19,000 out of his own pocket to top that off for a $50,000 donation to the Survivor Welfare Fund, which is probably a couple people I can think of off the top of my head that do that. We know the loyal sponsors,
sure,
but not many. Not many.
No, not many at all. And, you've been humble throughout this interview, and, that's what makes your company, you, successful. Even saying that Eagle Oaks, Trump Edminster, that maybe this is the number 2 course. Listen, it's a premier course. It's a premier event. Get out. If you're on the fence, pull the trigger. Go to vcssoftware.com/VCS Open. Click the donate here. Sign up. Get a foursome. Get a solo golfer. Whatever you do, come out, support the cause, survival and welfare. That's what it's all about. Mike, anything to finish up with?
No, just if you don't see it there on the webpage, obviously we have the basic, the T sponsorships, all of those things. If there's something custom you'd like to do, maybe you want to come play with a foursome and give some swag, or maybe you belong to a company that can supply something that we can use for Tricky Trays. Give us a call. It's not a cookie cutter thing. Just give a call, and I'm sure we can work out some sort of sponsorship level for you.
Beautiful. Mike, thanks for coming on today. Again, it's 1 month out. We hope and we wish for nothing but a successful event. Hope the weather gods are on our side, and let's run it back next year, year number 3, and we'll be talking about at least a $50,000 plus $1